And we're using the family one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought we were using.
There. Yeah.
Erev Tov, everybody, and Shabbat Shalom to all of you and to all of our viewers over there. And as soon as everybody stops chatting, we will begin our service. Okay. This evening, I'd like to start our wonderful service honoring our Bet Sefer Solel teachers with a Yiddish song that is quite apropos. So it's called Oifen Pripachik. It's about a rabbi teaching the little children the Aleph Bet. Here's how it goes. Oifen Pripachik brennt a Feuer und in Stub ist heiß. Und der Rebbe lernt kleine Kinder lach, dem Aleph Beis. Und der Rebbe lernt kleine Kinder lach, dem Aleph Beis. Sagt ihr Kinder lach, gedenkt ihr Teiere, was ich lern da. Sagt ihr noch einmal und Tage noch einmal, kommet's alle vor. Sagt ihr noch einmal und Tage noch einmal, kommet's alle vor. Oifen Pripachik brennt a Feuer und in Stub ist heiß. Und der Rebbe lernt kleine Kinder lach, dem Aleph Beis. Und der Rebbe lernt kleine Kinder lach, dem Aleph Beis. And to begin our Friday evening service, welcoming Shabbat, I call on Chris Bowden to lead us on page 3 with the lighting of the candles.
On page 3, please read responsibly. As we light these candles, we welcome the holiness of Shabbat into our sanctuary.
From the light of the Shabbat candles, we see the beauty of the world around us.
From the warmth of Shabbat candles, we feel the love of our family and friends.
As we light these candles, we welcome the holiness of Shabbat into our hearts.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu v'kideshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. As is customary on Friday evening to bless our children, we turn to page 7 at the bottom of the page. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and protect you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God's presence shine upon you and be gentle to you. Isa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God's presence be lifted upon you and give you peace. And we continue on page 8 with Lecha Dodi, and when we get to the last verse, we rise facing the doors to the sanctuary. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat mekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat mekabela. Lecha Shahamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmianu el hamiyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shemo tiferet v'letila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki hi mekor haberacha, meherosh mikedem nesucha, sof maaseh b'machshava tchila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, giva orer, kumi ori, uri, shir daberi, kevod Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Bo'hi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha uv'tzola, toch emunei am segula. Bo'hi kala. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Bo'hi b'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha uv'tzola, toch emunei am segula. Bo'hi kala. And we remain standing for the Baruch Hu. Please be seated. And I call upon Kim Main to lead us under Aleph on page 9.
Under Aleph. When God completed creating the world, the seas and the skies, the sun, moon, and stars, the insects and the birds, the trees, bushes, and flowers, the animals and reptiles, then the angel said, "It is a very lovely world."
But God replied, "It lacks one thing. It has no voice with which to sing, and so it cannot praise all the beauty."
Then God created man and woman. God gave them souls that they might understand and voices that they might sing. Now the peoples of the earth can praise God's creation.
And we turn to the Shema on page 11, and I ask Emma to lead us, please. Please rise.
Me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot
And now Crystal Kruger will lead us on page 13 under Miriam's song.
And the women danced with their timbrels, followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long.
And Miriam was a weaver of unique variety. The tapestry was one which sang our history. With every strand and every thread, she crafted her delight. A woman touched with spirit, she dances toward the light.
When Miriam stood upon the shores and gazed across the sea, the wonder of this miracle she soon came to believe. Whoever thought the sea would part with an outstretched hand, and we would pass to freedom and march to the promised land.
And Miriam the prophet took her timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her just as she had planned. And Miriam raised her voice in song. She sang with praise and might. We've just lived through here. Dance tonight. And we turn to page 14. At the top of the page, we sing V'shamru. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם, ברית עולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת שבת ויהי נפש שבת שבת ויהי נפש שבת שבת ויהי נפש. And now to lead us in the Chazi Kaddish, I call on Charlie Dahalski, please.
Yitgadol ve'yitkadosh shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei.
B'chayechon uvyomechon ufchayei d'chol Beit Yisrael. Bagala uvizman kariv v'yimaru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevarach le'alam ulal me'almaya yitbarach.
Yitbarach ve'yishabach ve'yipa'ar v'yitramam v'yinaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalol shemei l'kudashah
Berichu
La'ela mincho birchvata v'shirata
Tushbechata v'nechemata damiran bi'alma v'yimaru amen. Das kleine Herz nimmt darum die große Welt. The small heart embraces the big, large world. And on that note, we rise for the Amidah on page 15. Adonai sefata tiftach ufi agiti latecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Sarah Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Rivka Elohei Yaakov Elohei Hebrew on the next page. Ata gibor le'olam Adonai, mechayei hakol ata, rav l'Hoshia, mechalkel chayim b'chesed, mechayei hakol b'rachamim rabim, somech noflim, v'rofei cholim, umatir asurim, umkayim emunato, yishenei afar, michamoch abal gevurot, umidom elach, melech megitumcha, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'nemanata lachayot hakol, baruch atah Adonai, mechayei hakol. Ata kadosh, b'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yehalelucha selah. We praise you, Adonai, the holy ruler. Please be seated. And now we call upon Marla Stock to lead us on page 18 under the Shabbat spice.
Rabbi Judah Hanasi prepared a meal for the Roman Antonius on Shabbat.
Cold dishes were set before him. He ate them and thought they were delicious. On another occasion, Rabbi Judah made a meal for him during the week. When hot dishes were set before him, Antonina said to Rabbi Judah, "I enjoyed those other dishes more. Why did they have such a fragrant odor?"
Rabbi Judah replied, "We have a certain spice called Shabbat, which we put on it. That is what gives it the fragrant odor."
Antoninus requested, "Give me some of it so that I may add it to the royal pantry."
Rabbi Judah answered, "I am sorry, but this spice cannot be given away. It only works for those who keep Shabbat."
Thank you. And on page 19, Adam Kruger is going to lead us under Be Gracious Adonai.
Be gracious, Adonai, to your people Israel.
And accept our prayers in love.
In the ancient temple, our ancestors offered you the best of their flocks and their fields.
In our synagogues, we offer you the prayers of our hearts and know that you understand us.
We praise you, Adonai, who comes close to hear our prayer.
Baruch atah Adonai, hamachazir shchinato l'Tzion. Thank you. And we continue on page 20 with Modim Anachnu Lach. Modim Anachnu Lach, She'ata hu Adonai Eloheinu. Modim Anachnu Lach, She'ata hu Adonai. Modim Anachnu Lach, She'ata hu Eloheinu. Modim Anachnu Lach, She'ata hu Adonai. Modim Anachnu Lach, She'ata hu Adonai Eloheinu. Modim Anachnu Lach, She'ata hu Adonai. Modim Anachnu Lach, She'ata hu Eloheinu. Modim Anachnu Lach, She'ata hu Adonai. I now ask Rick Dahalski to come and lead us on page 21, Meditation Bet.
What do we mean when we say the word shalom?
Shalom means peace, a feeling of complete happiness and rest. When we greet each other by saying shalom, we mean may you have peace.
What is Shabbat Shalom?
When you sing and pray together with our families and friends, that is Shabbat Shalom.
What is shalom among people?
When two people can be friends, even though they do not agree on everything, that is Shalom.
What is shalom in the world?
When all war stops, when we no longer make weapons to kill each other, when we treat all people with love and respect, then we will have shalom.
We ask God to help us bring shalom as we pray together.
Shalom Rav, grant us peace, your most precious gift, O God, and help the Jewish people be a messenger of peace to the nations of the world. Bless our country that we may live in peace and bring peace and happiness into the world. We praise you, eternal God, the source of peace. And now we come to the time in our service when we pray silently and individually. Hine ma tovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, hine ma tov. Ya la 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 la. Hine ma tov, hine ma tov. Ya la 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 la. Hine ma tovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. And now our thoughts turn to those who are in need of healing. In our community, we dedicate this Mishaberach to Janet Brown, Lauren Davidson, Leah Haller, Harry Richter, Francis Hernick, Wilfred Walker, Shirley Herman, Rick Valentin, Marlene Friedman, Jack Kudlatz, Suzanne Shear-Snimson, Bernie McLennan, Harriet Lachman, Jill Rich, Nicola Proietti, Eliyahu Ben Yitzhak Visara, Rebecca Bodbill, Parker Keiko, Philip Shepard, Carl Katz, Nicole Hansen, Raina Rowan, Gilan Naruzi, Madeline Kitson, Kathy Kitson, Dee Hickey, Lorraine DaCosta, Adela Tsur, Al Lofsky, Evelyn Tyndall, Amanda Schenk, Daniel Black, Jean Elizabeth Pitt, Shmuel Ben Dvora, Pauline Portnoy, Erwin Milgram, Karen Smith, Frances Van Tyne, and Sharon Wakefield. If there are any other names to add to our list, please state them aloud as I look in your direction. Mishaberach Avoteinu Mekol habracha Limotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the now, we turn our dais over to the winner of a wonderful award. It's the Distinguished Educator Award that she received last Tuesday night. We wish her a mazel tov and yishar koach, or kochech. And here she is, Arlene Botnick.
Thank you, Eleanor, and thank you for so beautifully leading our service. This is an interesting evening. It was planned as a 7:30 service, hopefully to get some younger people out. We've got a couple of younger people out, and also to honor our teachers, and we've got most of our teachers here this evening. But before I begin honoring our teachers, there is another event that we must remember. Today is International Holocaust Remembrance Day. It's the anniversary of the day that Jews were liberated from Auschwitz-Birkenau. Not a happy day, because when they were liberated, they also had suffered such trauma that would never leave them. When they were liberated, they knew that so many of their friends and family would no longer be there. When they were liberated, they came into a world that had been completely turned upside down. And today, the last of the survivors is still speaking up. And those voices are going to be still very shortly. And what a difficult time for those voices to be still. A time when anti-Semitism, and perhaps hate of all forms, is rising. Statistics Canada, and we're not even talking about the horrors of Europe, says that hate crimes spiked 37% in 2020. We can say that anti-Semitism is just spiking now, but there's always been a subculture of anti-Semitism. There hasn't been a century, a decade, a year where there haven't been events where people were targeted, and this is well before the State of Israel, simply because we are Jews. Most recently, a rapper whose only claim to fame appears to be that he's a rapper, went back on Twitter and has 30 million followers listening to him spew hate. And Elon Musk, who gave us the electric car, has welcomed back all these propagators of hate. We're living in a very difficult world. We are told that the 614th commandment is never again, that we cannot stand by and let it happen again, not to us and not to any other people. Millions were murdered, unparalleled in the world history in terms of a period of from 1933 to 45, 12 million people were murdered. It was systematic murder. It wasn't just a, let's have a little fight here and there. It was systematic, all-encompassing, government-approved, planned out to the last detail murder. We didn't stand a chance. The genocidal zeal terrorized humanity. 2 out of every 3 European Jews lost their lives. The number is 6 million. That book that they're now unfolding in Jerusalem has almost 5 million proven names of people who died. And along with those 6 million, another 6 million Soviet POWs, the Roma, the disabled, sexual minorities, political dissidents, Jehovah's Witnesses. When Jews are targeted, we are the canary in the coal mine. We are only the beginning. So how do we deal with that? How do we deal with those who are not only denying what happened or claiming to revisionize what happened? How do we deal with anti-Semitism? And I think the only way is through education. The only way is that we have to stand up, and every lie we hear, we correct. Every misunderstanding that is expressed, we talk about. Every spewer of hate must be taken down. Today, we had a lovely opening on the Peel Board of Education, a beautiful picture of all these candles burning brightly. And one of our teachers, Marla, noticed that the very first Twitter response was, "History lies." and some other words that I won't say from the pulpit. Even today, yet today, when we acknowledge and remember not just 6 million, but 12 million lives, there are people who say it didn't happen. So my teachers, your teachers, Bet Sefer Solel teachers, we've got a big job ahead of us. And as you saw, our teachers leading the service so beautifully, and there were other teachers that are away, Jane Neveleff, Linda Silver, Vicki Stacy, Esther Turner, Zach Consett, other teachers, Ron Miller, other teachers either through illness or sickness or other activities could not be here tonight. But each week, following the beginning of Solel, Vishinamtam Levanecha, we will teach our children. We will teach them how to be proud Jews. We will teach them how to answer the anti-Semites and the hate mongers. We will teach them, just as Rick read, that true peace means we don't have to agree on everything, but we don't propagate hate. So teachers, you are doing an amazing job. And I thought to end on a little more positive note, I wanted to read you some of the rules that teachers have had over the centuries. And I found this lovely list of rules for teachers. This was important in 1915 for teachers. And most of us were women at that point for lots of reasons, but I'm going to read you a few of the 1915 rules for teachers. You will not marry during the term of your contract. You are not to keep company with men. You must be home between the hours of 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. unless attending a school function. You may not loiter downtown in ice cream stores. You may not travel beyond the city limits unless you have the permission of the chairman of the board. And you may not ride in a carriage or an automobile with any man unless he is your father or your brother. You may not smoke cigarettes. You may not dress in bright colors. Under no circumstances may you dye your hair. You must wear at least 2 petticoats, and your dresses must not be shorter than 2 inches above the ankle. And the most important thing, to keep the schoolroom heated and clean, you must sweep the floor at least once daily, scrub the floor at least once a week with hot, soapy water, clean the blackboards at least once a day, and start the fire at 7 a.m. so the room will be warm by 8 a.m. Has nothing to do with what you teach the kids, or how you teach the kids, or if you teach the kids. It's just rules about how you live and how you have to take care of the building. And I thought, I don't like those rules. And honestly, you know, aside from maybe you should sweep the floors occasionally in your classroom if you serve food, we don't follow any of those rules. So I decided I had to find some other rules. So where do you go if you want the best rules for teaching? You go to Chelm, because in Chelm, they knew what teaching was about. And I felt assured that when I went to the Chelm website, I would find rules that were really meaningful for teachers. But then, this is the 3 rules that I found for Chelmites who are teachers. You must not live on a hill. You must not have a suitcase with wheels. And you can't eat strudel. And I thought there has to be a story to this. So I figured when you don't know, you have to read that Chelm story about why those 3 rules were so important. So it appears that Chelm boys, because even in Chelm, unfortunately, girls aren't worthy to be educated, Chelm boys had to be examined every Friday morning on their lessons. And every Friday morning, a melamed, a tutor came to the son of a Chelmite's house and would tutor him. And one day, Moshe, the melamed, the teacher, came to the house and he noticed this most amazing aroma. And it wasn't challah, although I know if he'd smelled Eleanor's challah, it would have been wonderful, but he smelled strudel, apple strudel. And he said to the mother of his little student, "Could I have a piece?" And she gave him a little piece. It was 10 in the morning, but why not? and his mouth watered, and he savored every bite. And he taught the student, but all he could think of was that amazing, amazing strudel. He got home immediately at noon and said, "There's enough time, my dear wife. Please, here are 2 zloty coins. Go, buy apples. You're going to make a strudel for me." Okay. So she went to the village. She looked at the apples. But, you know, her kid needed a pair of shoes. Strudel, apples, my son needs shoes. She's a mummy. She bought her son shoes. So she came home with the shoes, but no apples. And her husband, the Melamed, the teacher, who had been waiting so patiently for the strudel, said, "Nu, where are the apples? Are you going to make me my strudel?" And she told him what she had done. She had the audacity to buy her son a new pair of shoes. Her husband flew into a rage, and they started to argue, and they didn't realize it, but where they were arguing, there happened to be an open trunk. She was going to pack away some old clothes of her son's, and as the 2 of them were starting to fight, they fell into the trunk, the 2 of them, and the trunk door slammed. And on top of it all, the trunk had wheels, and the front door was open, and they were on a hill, and the trunk started sailing down the hill. Well, you can only imagine the trunk sailing down the hill, the 2 of them fighting and screaming, and all the Helmut saying, "Oy vez mir, what's happening?" And they saw it, and they ran into the synagogue. It was Friday night. They had been fighting all day. It was almost Shabbos. And the Chalmites said, "Oh my gosh, it's going to hit the synagogue front door." And they started blowing the shofar to warn people to get out of the way. And then finally, in God's good time, the trunk stopped. And when the trunk opened, the Melamed and his wife got out, and all of Helm was around them. They learned the lesson, 3 rules. A teacher can't live on a hill. You can't have a suitcase with wheels. And you can't eat strudel. And there has never been an incident like that again in Helm. So before I leave, I want to thank from the bottom of my heart, because any award I have won is really based on having the most dedicated group of teachers that anyone can ask for. They call us an avocational school, which means teaching for most of you is not your main career. But a true teacher is someone who cares about his or her or their students. A true teacher is one that's passionate about teaching the next generation the best way to live as a human being. So I found a quote from Chaim Gnot, a teacher and a former student, who said, "I have come to the frightening conclusion. I, the teacher, am the decisive element in my classroom. It is my personal approach that creates the climate. It is my daily mood that makes the weather. As a teacher, I possess tremendous power to make a child's life miserable or joyous. I can be a tool of torture or an instrument of inspiration. I can humiliate or humor or hurt or heal. In all situations, it is my response that decides whether a crisis will be escalated or de-escalated, and whether a child will be humanized and dehumanized. At Bet Sefer Solel, our teachers make the difference. Our teachers have created a synagogue that's about to meet its 50th year of celebration. Our teachers are the background of Solel, and for that, my sincere thanks, Toda Rabah and Yesher Koach, to the staff of Bet Sefer Solel.
Thank you, Arlene. And on that note, I asked Nicole Hansen to join us, and we turn to page 63 for the Aleinu and Rise.
Be'ach ladon hakol, latet gedula liotzer breshit, shehu sam chalkeinu liached et shemo,
be seated.
Please read responsibly under Bet on page 64. Eternal our God, we pray for the coming of the Messianic age of peace and harmony. As your partners in the covenant, we understand that we must ease suffering and overcome hatred. As we do our share, we pray that you will help us to unite all the people of the world.
On that day, the word of your prophet Zechariah will come true. On that day, you shall be one, and your name shall be one. This is the period of Shloshim for Rena Cohn Dvorkin, sister of Gary Dvorkin and Tish, sister-in-law of Francoise Adrianoff, and aunt of Joshua, Jeremy, and Lisa, mother of Rana, Harley, Susan and Jeffrey, and great aunt of Lily and Ava. Esther Wochenmarkt, mother of Toby Sunga, Rachel Lubiarski, David Wochenmarkt, and the late Sarah Wochenmarkt, mother-in-law to Darius Sunga, David Lubarski, Carla Wochenmarkt, and Bruce Smith, sister of Nina and grandmother of 9. And Rabbi Bernard Baskin, former spiritual leader and Rabbi Emeritus at Anshe Shalom in Hamilton. Yortzeit this week is observed for, Philip Zelding, father of Nelson, Renee Marmoreo, brother-in-law of Leo and Carol Van Tyne, husband of Janice, uncle of Lisa, Michael, and Rachel. Florence Seabrook, sister of Harold Botnick and sister-in-law of Susie and Arlene Botnick. Albert Levine, father of Alan Levine, grandfather of Sean, Stacy, and Michael. Norman Wilson, husband of Yvonne, father of Lorraine and Michelle, and brother-in-law of Harold Portnoy, grandfather of Tyler, Leah, and Zachary. Ruth Christensen, sister of Lila Wiersba. Chaim Nathanson, father of Lila Wiersba. Lynn Ray, sister of Shirley Evans, aunt of Paul, Susan Wilson, and Lisa Smith. Christopher Walden, son of David and the late Cheryl Grossman, brother of Sharon and Naomi. Gussie Yutman, grandmother of Noah Farber. Ben Goffin, uncle of Barry Chaffetz. Stan Pitch, father of Shirley Herman, grandfather of Mark and Laura. Alexander Lustig, uncle of Rita Grossman. Jean Edelman, mother of Neil. Avram Stober, brother of Marcy Binsky. Saul Subek, grandfather of Phil, and we commemorate all those who perished in the Holocaust. May their memory always be for a blessing as we rise to say the Kaddish on page 64. Yitgadal v'yitkadash be'alma divrach yutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayachon v'yamechon ufchayei dechol beit Yisrael b'agala v'zman kari v'imru amen Yehei shmei rabam nevarach le'alam u'lamei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalach b'richu לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דע אמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במקומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל בני אדם, ואמרו אמן. Please be seated. And I think right now, is anybody representing the board to make announcements?
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening in person or online. It's lovely to see all of you here, and thank you for leading such a beautiful service this evening. Reminder that tomorrow is a regular Saturday morning Shabbat service with our guest leader, our Emeritus Rabbi Englander. Next Friday is a regular 8 p.m. service with guest leader Joel Brown. And next Saturday morning is also a regular Shabbat morning service with our leader John Lewson and a special guest speaker, Yifat Bear Miller, speaking on ecology and Israel. I'd like to extend also a special thank you to Joel for being our tech guru this evening, and for our, oh, that's tomorrow. Okay. We also have a whole bunch of goodies still happening around. We have our Sunday morning, this Sunday morning at 10 a.m. is Rabbi Englander, his session. Nope. Sorry. That's the holidays. My goodness. Tuesday morning minions are still on at 7 a.m. So if you're up for a brief service and a scrumptious community breakfast afterwards, please join us. And there is a second Seder of Passover note here. So on Thursday, I know it's a while away, but we're getting there. There is going to be some talk coming up, so please keep that in mind. There's going to be April 6th will be our Seder. I know it seems crazy far, but time flies when you're having fun.
Thank you. Okay, and to take us on home, I'm going to call on Brad Bass to lead us in the Kiddush on page 66.
Melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher tishanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, me'ahava uv'ratzon, hinchilanu, zikaron למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. קיוונו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל בשבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. לחיים.
And for the finals, Mira, I'm going to ask all the teachers to join me on the bima here. And we're going to do Oseh Shalom. Okay, which tune do you like best?
We'll all try, whichever one works.
Okay. So, Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael de'imeru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol
Aseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'imeru. Amen.
And we have one more song to sing, and that's Yom Huledet, because we have a certain someone by the name of Afia celebrating a significant birthday. Please stand up. And we're going to sing Yom Huledet. Achad, shtayim, shalosh. Yom Huledet Sameach. Yom Huledet Sameach. Yom Huledet Sameach. Yom Huledet Sameach. And many more to come. And Shabbat Shalom to everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Please join us for the Oneg.